Matt Geary here, UK Games Expo 2022 with Will. War on Terra. What's the name of the company?
So the company name is AWA Game Design.
Okay.
That stands for Alex Weber, William Anton.
Okay.
It's a nice, easy way of putting us both in the company name. And we're the guys who've produced War on Terra.
Okay, so what is War on Terra?
War on Terra is well, without sounding too cliche, it's a brand new sci-fi tabletop war game that we want to bring to the world, hopefully toward the end of this year. We're looking at winter time. The one thing we've noticed from talking to people here at the Expo, what really makes it different is we get a lot of people asking, is it skirmish or is it army? The best way I can say and answer that is yes, it's both. It doesn't matter depending on the size of the game, the time you've got, the rules are the rules, they scale.
See, this is right. So this is one thing, and this is why we're talking to you, because I've been wargaming for forever. I'm 40 years old now. I started pretty much when I was when Rogue Trader came out in 40k, in the 80s and stuff. Like I've been from the very start.
Yeah.
Like all types, fantasy, historic, sci-fi, everything. And the one thing that's always bugged me about wargame is scalability.
Yeah.
And how that there's very much a case of you have one scale and that's it, and then it doesn't go very well whenever they start putting in bigger sets of units and stuff like that. And so when you said it was scalable, I was just like, winner.
Well, let me explain.
Okay.
The one reason we found, I mean, I am a 40k lover.
Yeah.
Have been since I was younger, very young. My brother got me into it when I was like 7. So that was like 2nd edition.
Right, okay.
So really early in there. And the reason why it doesn't work when you try and either scale it down to skirmish, and that's why you have like things like Kill Team, and scaling it up, you get loads of different types of units added on, is because a lot of games are focused on the unit base. So you buy a unit and they have to stay as a blob. Whereas being ex-military, if we came under fire, the section would distribute. So you don't come under, you're not all an easy target. So within the game, in-game lore, they're called attachments. So every model counts as an individual attachment as is, but they can also join up in their data sheet. They have what's called an attachment type. If they share that type, if they're within 2 inches, they count as also a single attachment of now many more models.
Okay.
Splitting up, if you come under fire, is tactically advantageous. An attachment can only shoot or attack at one attachment. So if you're coming under heavy fire, scatter, because they can only shoot with one of you. But then you lose certain bonuses for being blobbed up. If you want to take out a tank, if you're going to get certain bonuses for being blobbed up, that's on you. The game works very similar to chess in the fact that you can play the same game multiple times in a row, but it's going to be a different game because in chess, if you move a different pawn instead of another, like in your knight, that's going to change on how your opponent moves.
So is this activations? How does it work? Is it alternate activations, or is it one side, other side?
So one side, the other side. All the movement is done in the same phase. So it's a game done on turns. You have obviously turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. They're all the same turns, but the phases in the game work differently to others. So what you've got, you always roll for priority. Priority is going to tell you who goes first in said turn.
Okay.
The priority player does not choose who goes first. You won, you go first for that turn. Tough. The way our game works, and I can guarantee
it can change each turn?
Absolutely.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you the guys playing over there have already wanted to go second and lose priority. Because how the phases work is, the main 3 phases, there are others, but you've got movement, shooting or ballistic, and combat. If you won priority, you don't do all 3 at once, and then it's mine. You move, then I move. You shoot, then I shoot. You then do combat, close combat, and then I do my close combat.
All right, okay.
So if you go first and you move into a good position to shoot my guys, I am well within my power to move in my movement phase to move my guys into cover.
All right, so it's not like in 40k where it's like I do all my movement, I do my shooting, and then I do my charge. It's moving.
How yes. Yeah. Yeah. So going second is beneficial because if they move out in the open, one, like I said, you can swing and hide behind cover. But also with shooting, you can then move into a better position to shoot or attack them because of you going second. But sometimes you need to shoot them and get their numbers down, so you want to shoot first.
Right.
So it all depends on how you're playing, how the turns are looking, depending on if you want to go first or second.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's how it's scalable as well. So everything is between every player.
And so far, how many factions have you got?
So we've got 5 planned already. So general humans, everybody loves a human. A lot of us don't. A lot of us like going for other alien races. But we've tried to make the human guys look pretty cool. The armor we've invented is usable, if you will. I love ornate styles of armor, but coming from a military background, sometimes I look at them, I'm just like, that ain't gonna work on the battlefield. I'm sorry. We have our alien force, one of them called the Greys, spelt with an A, because they're named by the Americans, and they are based on the Roswell Greys, because we love that style of alien, so does everyone.
Yep.
You've got your lovely bug faction, everybody loves a bug faction, named the Haraka.
Yep.
You've got your ethereal sort of specialist elite force or faction called the Watchers. Lower model count, stronger fellas. And then a human-made sort of robot faction that's defected, if you will. They're not AI, just very intelligent programming that can go wrong because of solar flares or whatever happens in the universe, called the Talus. Those are the 5 planned factions at the moment. We've got a couple more in our minds ready for the future if all this kicks off and goes well.
What about lore and stuff like that? Have you got yourself a good rich background for it?
Absolutely. We're both massive science fiction nerds. We know that with a game as lovely as the models are, people want to know lore. They want to know the history, they want to know the future, they want to know why their faction may be good at close combat versus just, oh, that's just how we designed it.
Yeah.
So if you do pop to the website, what you're going to find is it's very lore heavy. There's a load of coming soon pages because we're going to slowly drip feed you those over time. But there's a huge timeline that explains leading up to modern day, obviously.
Yep.
They have all color coded, so all of our 5 factions have colors donating to them. Humans, it's a red. Greys, it's like a purpley pink. Watchers, it's a blue. Harakas, it's a nice like bug green.
Yeah.
So next to part on the timeline, if it's got the symbol and the color of that faction, that for the timeline is genuinely that faction's main focus.
Right. Okay.
And then what we've got is other pages. You've got read here, click more, and that will open up even from the timeline. You've got a little blurb, read more, and it will bring up a larger page explaining more in depth about what's happening at that point in time.
Okay. And the Kickstarter, when's it coming out?
We're just saying winter. We want October, but we understand that no plan survives really as much as you want it to. So that's why we are having to say winter. Yes, yeah. But no.
So winter, we're potentially looking at this. Is there, with how many sort of type of variants are we going to have? So what are you thinking about sort of when you're releasing the Kickstarter? Like how many units will each faction have?
So the starter boxes that we're going to have released for the Kickstarter. General per army, it's going to be very limited at first.
Yeah.
You're going to find about 4, maybe 5 different types in a starter box for the armies. Mm-hmm. We have all of their intelligence records planned for all armies. Right. So there's well over 80 different types of attachments that you can choose from. Some armies have more infantry, some armies have more vehicles. It all depends on the type. But in the boxes, the best thing about them is what we're aiming for is the 5 factions have their starter box army. When you buy a starter box, you get to choose. So if you don't like the Greys, but you really want humans and then the Haraka, choose that starter box. So you're going to have 10 different variations of starter box. But you are looking at the scope. We've already planned way more different types of models coming out.
They look really good. They're really good. And the idea of scalability and having sort of effect. It is alternate actions in a way, isn't it?
It's more. It's reactive on the way that because you move, then I move. I'm just reacting normally in a game sense to where you've moved.
Yeah.
So it's out of turn. It's in turn kind of thing. Yeah.
So you've got to think about it, I suppose, because if you're moving, you're going to go right. If I move, they are probably going to react to my movement.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of maybe bring that into account. So it is like chess. You've got to sort of kind of lure them into traps.
Absolutely.
And things like that.
And even then, you've got to also think on your feet, because if they have a big blob and you think, perfect, I'm surrounding them, I'm going to take out 20 of their guys, but during their movement phase, they separate that one attachment of 20 into 5 different size attachments, well then that's messed with your plans. So then you've got to think on your feet. So you've got to change your overall plan to what they're doing as well, because again, attachments don't stay as a blob. They can separate at any stage of the game.
And with regards to sort of play testing and stuff, because obviously one of the big bugbears for a lot of 40k players is that there's a lot of ambiguity within rules. There's also stuff that's just broken. How have you sort of kind of worked around that?
So rules-wise, they're all going to be available free on the website pretty soon, as well as the character sheets that we've got, or the intelligence records that we're playing with right now. So people will be able to go away and play test themselves. None of this behind-the-scenes play testing. We've done an awful lot of it ourselves, but we're not a million people all playing through all of the inevitable, or impossible number of variations. We've got certain wording on the rules. The first bit on the rules on the website and any rule page will say rule word specifics. So certain words will be bold, certain words will be capitalized, certain words will have chevrons next to them, quotation marks, dashes. They will confer to different types of rules. So you could have 4 words, all the same words in line. If they're written in a different way, they confer to either a special rule, a game rule, a general rule, or a model type. That really helps us make sure that you know what we mean. We're also massive on, we hate ambiguity. So we use the same terminology. A lot of games we noticed try and make things cooler. So when you kill a model, it will say, and this model is then annihilated. But in another part of the rule, it will say, and then remove the model from the tabletop. So is there a difference between when a model gets annihilated or removed? We always use the same words to remove ambiguity. The way the rules are written can seem a little bit wordy, but that's because we just want to get rid of that ambiguity. We really dislike that in rules. We've read through many different types of rules. Sometimes picking up a game even from an expo like this, we get home and it's this game's fun, but I think we're playing it right. And it's I hope we are, because it's good this way. If it's different, then I'm worried. So with the rules being free, with memberships and subscribing on the website, what it does mean, on the forum, under a general rules or area, if people do consistently find issues with a certain part, we'll send everyone an email saying, hey, the rule wasn't broken, but we did understand it needed to be rewritten and worded slightly differently. So here's an email with what it used to look like and how it is now. Re-download the PDF, crack on.
Okay, because I think that's a massive thing. It's especially in 40k, it's you buy rules and then they're updated, and then it's just they're always somebody finding broken.
I ain't got that level of pocket.
I
can't do it.
It's just sort of frustrating. I think a lot of people.
And it leaves you more money to buy the models. It's
exactly.
because I like our models.
That's it. Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
No worries.
So Kickstarter in the winter, hopefully.
That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're really aiming for.
Keep an eye out for War on Terra, winter time this year. Check it out.
Yes.